No, I want to hit him with a garden weasel. It's mine and I go, Huh? Oh, jeez, I'm still doing this, aren't I? Man, this series is long. Well, now I'm the rested Angry Spork, taking issue with Batman Eternal. Where did we leave off last time? Yes. Batman tracked Riddler to a snowy mountaintop, and when he finally found him, he wanted to take him back to Gotham. But Riddler didn't like that idea and caused an avalanche, burying himself and the Dark Knight. Issue 40, Ray Fawkes on script, has the aftermath of the avalanche, with a question mark Kane the only sign, as Penny 2 calls for Batman. He finally responds, appraising her of the situation, and that he'll be fine when he figures out which way is up. Come on, Bats, don't think of it as a devastating and possibly deadly avalanche. Think of it as DC Comics rebooting the mountain. As numerous villains start partaking of ill-gotten bat-emblazoned gains, Clayface suggests there's enough gear for even Cluemaster and his losers to make the A-list. Other villains delight in the potential in what they find, like Scarecrow lacing sedatives and antitoxins for dangerous mixing effects, Firefly marveling at incendiaries not seen since his time in the military. But there's one holdout. Selina isn't interested and stops Clayface when he suggests she prefers other interactions with the Bat. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Kyle has made her own way and owns more of the city than they know. The mysterious benefactor insists that she's either with them or against them as Gotham is brought to its knees, but the cat has a counteroffer as she gets back into her limo. They could join under her, organize, and become so rich that Batman becomes a faded memory. Or they take their chances with the mystery voice, go mass murder, and pray Batman gets to them before she does. Firefly offers his resume in the form of an explosive that destroys the car, and yeah, sure, Catwoman too. Really. Honest and for truly. Having watched various Gundam anime, I'm not convinced someone is dead just because they're caught in something as mild as a huge explosion. Batman emerges from the snow, finding no sign of his quarry until he activates his cowl's thermal imaging. With a mighty yoink, he frees Riddler from his powdery coffin, now with a broken arm, still intent on bringing him in. Nigma insists that would mean death for both of them, and insists he's not acting out of fear, but logic. Back in Gotham, at the Gotham Gazette, Patrick the intern is still trying to shoot Vicky Vale, telling her this end was inevitable and that even escaping him wouldn't save her. When he closes in, Vale maces him, grabs his gun, and wallops him with it until he's out. She calls 911 and hopes her friend Warren doesn't die. Back to Batman and Riddler's snowy doom, as the ground gives way beneath them and they fall further down. A moment passes and Riddler hobbles away alone, telling the slowly pursuing Batman he wants nothing to do with any of this. At the press of his gauntlet, Riddler trips as he just so happened to step on the Batplane concealed in the snowfall. Oh, that's why he fell. I was going to say that Batman switched his shoes with remote-controlled bat-tripping footwear. Or, wait, would that just trip bats? But they fly, so... You know what? Never mind. Riddler refuses to talk no matter what, and only lured Batman there to get him to think for himself. Bats doesn't really care and still intends to take him to prison. Given how crowded Blackgate's getting, he may want to tell Riddler he'll have a roommate or 7. At the bonfire of the limousine, Signalman is less convinced of Catwoman's demise, and Mr. Freeze gives him a kind of backhanded compliment about being too smart for the kind of crew he runs with. As Clayface amusingly sort of dons a cape and cowl, Cluemaster rallies them to start doing some damage. As they take their leave and Basil takes Batman's form, which makes taking his cape and cowl a little pointless, but whatever, we see a grapnel line leading from the destroyed limo and into the shadows, where Catwoman lurks. She later enters a nearby section of the garage to a not-exploded sedan guarded by Killer Croc. She tells him it's about as bad as it can be, and she feels it's going to become worse. They see the Batplane soar across the sky, and Croc says bats can handle them. Selina, on the other hand, voices confusion about what she sees or what side she's on. Driving alone, meaning Croc had to go on foot, I guess, she contacts an underling named Eni, asking for anything that seems worth more than it should be. He tells her about a teenaged internet blab with $100 million on her head, whose father is Cluemaster. Somehow, nobody can catch this 17-year-old girl.
That's it. That's the one I want.
Rather than send her people on it, she decides to handle it herself. Because you find it that interesting, or because you're in a hurry and are just going for whatever info comes first? That's sloppy management, Selena. An ambulance has arrived at the Gazette to take Warren Spacey to the hospital, and Vicky insists on going with him. Though an officer at first tries to stop her, he stops caring after the Batplane flies by and an explosion occurs a few blocks away. Vale muses that it's all built to confuse them and tear the city apart. Elsewhere, Jim Corrigan, host of the Spectre, emerges from a sewer drain after 2 weeks in the tunnels, dragging along Maxie Zeus. It's not exactly clear if that 2 weeks refers to when he and Batwing started their investigation, or it's been 2 weeks since he's been dragging Maxie around. Either way, it begs the question, what did they drink in that fortnight? However, it's not all bad, since going so long without food helps to purge the darkness of Deacon Blackfire from Maxie's body. One last divination, and you're clean. Made for a warlock, but I like it too. It wasn't Corrigan, but the Spectre that brought the caverns down. Old Testament-style judgment of God is his deal. He could have brought down the whole city, but an explosion tells him someone is already doing that. Anyway, he's still a cop, and Maxie's an escapee, so Corrigan proceeds to bring him in. The comic closes on a bunch of children with ominous, glowing eyes. And that's what you get when your kids are all sticking their faces in their iPhones and their TVs and their Xboxes and their dang chocolate malteds and hopscotch. Jeez, Tim, get a tissue. Issue 41, scripted by Kyle Higgins, opens on a truck driver running on coffee and pastry, screeching to a halt because of 4 kids in the street. He yells at them to get out of the way, only for the nanobot tendrils to emerge and literally pound him into the pavement. No joke, there's a noticeable impression and cracks in the street. That guy is dead. The possessed kids take the truck, evidently their objective, and arrive at a warehouse being monitored by Red Robin and Harper Row. Harper discovered the building after she found her brother missing, which would have been a more dramatic turn of events if we had seen it, and, as Tim summarizes, essentially turned Wi-Fi hotspots into a radar net to look for him. Not sure how viable that is, but I've heard more preposterous in comics. While trying to track her brother, Row discovered more infected kids than they thought, and they've spent time gathering metals, copper wiring, and toxic chemicals, the latter of which I can assume are just ideas scribbled down by Dan Didio. Inside the warehouse, we see various infected kids hard at work building a cylindrical machine. Well, gotta jumpstart the economy somehow. Spoiler is on a rooftop high above Gotham, using how nice a bed or sanitation might be, but would settle for people to stop trying to kill her. Somehow she realizes one such bounty hunter is behind her, throwing a bolo his way. Wow, she's really well equipped for a girl on the run, though whoever he is manages to dodge it. She remarks that she's taken down 5 previous low-life killers, which, along with sensing when another killer is nearby, is just one more convenience by the writer that is told rather than shown. Unless she's counting Hush and Flamingo, in which case Batman made considerable contributions. The mystery man tells her he's already been paid, but to protect her. This revelation stuns Spoiler long enough for him to knock her out. Back outside the warehouse, Red Robin and Harper are joined by Batgirl and Red Hood, the latter of whom jokes about shooting children. Hilarious, from a guy that previously threatened to shoot child slavers. Harper says they must fight off nano-controlled teen zombies to find the big boss. Batgirl seems rather catty for someone who instantly gave her real name and a handshake to Alfred's daughter not long ago. All are ready to go, and Harper wants to sneak in while the others draw attention. But Red Rob tells her that putting on a costume, becoming a crime fighter, can consume one's life, saying that he didn't think he had a choice. Weird. I'd heard that in the New 52, Tim Drake became Batman's sidekick to fulfill his potential as a genius teenager, thus choosing to become a crime fighter out of ego. Pre-reboot, he decided to become Robin because Batman was still reeling from the death of Jason Todd, and thus becoming more reckless and detached, So he wanted to help Batman to further help Gotham. It was far more altruistic, but I guess he doesn't get to have altruism now.
He tells her that she needs to make sure whatever she decides is the right call, for the sake of herself, her brother, and everyone else. For now, she needs to monitor their frequencies while they take a direct approach. The three enter the warehouse, Red Hood with an explosion, and again suffering from Smiley Helmet Syndrome. Okay, who's the idiot that wants to go first?
Look in the nearest mirror.
As they fight off the controlled horde, Red Robin notes that it looks like they've constructed a relay antenna of unclear purpose. He somehow takes to the air while Red Hood shoots at children with rubber bullets, and we find that Jervis Tetch is the mastermind behind it all. While Dr. Falsario sought to profit from stealing his tech, he wanted to embrace the outcasts and make them into a happy family. Harper says she figured out what Hatter is doing, warning the others to get out, but her communication is obstructed. Tetch says that he'll remake a new, perfect Gotham, where he is beloved, and controlling the city through nanotech seems to be about as easy as pressing a button. As nanoswarms billow around, Red Hood is the first to fall under its sway, as they'd all been exposed upon entering the warehouse. Batgirl orders Red Robin to get out so he can save them, 'cause it's not like Barbara Gordon knows anything about hacking or technology or anything, right? And she decks Red Hood, claiming not to enjoy it. She screams in pain, either being controlled by nanites, or she has a chip in her brain that causes pain when she lies. Sadly, it's the first option. Tim contacts Row 1, seriously, it's getting lazy with these call signs, telling her that Hatter is broadcasting programming, but he too is soon assimilated. Harper has returned home, recording a message for Cullen on her laptop. She apologizes for always being angry but not being smart enough to get them out of the Narrows, yet does not apologize to the reader for being derivative and uninteresting. Some of this dialogue was featured in captions at the beginning of this issue, not unlike when Bard had trapped Batman in the Batmobile. As the issue ends, she claims that all of this is somehow her fault, and in the end she never had a choice, as the splash page reveals she's donned a mask and full costume of her own.
Design-wise, this is not actually too bad, even though I haven't really cared for this character in this story. And certainly, no one will ever suspect that this new vigilante with dyed purple and blue hair and multiple piercings is Harper Row, teenager with dyed purple and blue hair with multiple piercings. Wait a minute.
Issue 42, with a cover that makes a much bolder claim than it deserves to, scripted by Kyle Higgins, opens on several people succumbing to the nano-virus, walking towards the warehouse at the Mad Hatter's beckoning. He likens them to puppets that need a proper stage and a proper person such as himself pulling the strings. We see the suited-up Harper run across a rooftop and stumble hilariously, dust herself off, then start a recorder in case she doesn't make it. It also gives her an excuse to exposit and narrate for the reader out loud. She reminds us of what we know about Tetch's nano spreading even if it's dormant. She activates her suit, which should protect her using a piece of code she got from her brother, making an anti-nano barrier, so she hopes. More convenient telling instead of showing, bringing this kind of thing at the very last minute. Into the fray she goes, as we change scenes to Stephanie Brown, waking up in a bedroom with her mother showing so much concern with folded arms and looking like she's anticipating dishing out parental discipline. Crystal Brown approaches her daughter, hands out in an almost defensive manner, assuring Steph that she's safe and admitting there's a lot to explain.
Mean how you and Dad have been trying to kill me?
Crystal claims she didn't know how far her ex-husband was going to take things, how he'd go after Steph. Otherwise, she'd have gotten them both away from him sooner. When she saw the bounty, she hired Killshot out of worry, the guy whose name we never got when we met him last issue. Way to go, writers. Also, they don't explain how she got the money to hire the guy. Crystal said she had a pretty good guess where Steph would be, which explains absolutely nothing of how she knew where Steph would be. After a night's sleep, she intends to get them both out of Gotham, and promises not to let anything bad ever happen to Steph again. Stephanie says she can't promise that, probably realizing that Dan Didio's still in power at DC, but Crystal says that as a mom, keeping her kids safe is what matters. She promises to never let Steph out of her sight again, and they hug like sassy gal pals rather than fretful loving mother and relieved daughter. Still no answer on who changed Stephanie out of her spoiler suit and into civilian sleepwear.
So many writers, and I'm not convinced any editors are on this book. Crystal was shown as being in clear collusion with Cluemaster. She said that Stephanie was going to ruin things for the both of them. And I call bull on not knowing how far Artie was going to take things. He's a career criminal that called your kid a brat for spoiling his plans, and you contacted him through the TV. Typical supervillain move. This feels very different from the character we saw earlier, even though it was only a few panels. Is that kind of vagueness supposed to make this sudden switch make sense? Because let me tell you, it really doesn't.
Creeping along the warehouse rafters, Harper ponders how to stop the transmitter when she's besieged by some minions. The nanoswarm attempts to infect her, but fails to thanks to her suit, giving her a boost in confidence until the swarm physically knocks her what looks like a couple of stories to the ground. But hey, something broke her fall, so she's fine. Hatter approaches, realizing she isn't under his control, when she sees and embraces her brother. She reaches into her belt, attempting to cast a smokescreen, but accidentally lodges a batarang into the floor. Attacked by Nano, billowing out of her brother, she's grabbed by Red Robin, Batgirl, and Red Hood. Hatter insists she take her medicine when Harper starts schmoozing. She says that, motive aside, she's impressed by his controlling all these people with his hat. This works long enough for her to kick said hat off his head, taser all three heroes holding her back with her suit, because her suit can do anything the story requires to make her look good, and in a splash page that I admit is a well-done shot, dons Tetch's trademark hat. With a thought, she causes the transmitter to self-destruct, releasing the throng, vigilantes included.
So after some ambiguous amount of training from Tim, making herself a costume, tripping a couple of times, getting herself captured, and using flattery to get the drop on a villain you could beat with a leaf blower, this is supposed to be someone's idea of character development? This justifies the excessive amount of praise and convenience this character gets from characters and writers alike?
Batman arrives just after the nick of time, smacking Jervis around for information on who he's working for. The initial plan was for the device to force people to hate Batman, but Tetch made some adjustments. When asked who it was that ordered him to do this, he directs Batman to his jacket pocket, wherein is yet another invitation. Red Robin says that they found the warehouse because of Harper Row, and Bat says they'll have to have a talk later. A talk later indeed occurs, but between Harper and Red R. He says he's not happy, but that's probably just the new 52 mandate, but feels he should apologize, as if his not being careful enough and getting himself, Red Hood, and Batgirl captured forced Harper into action. Rose says she wasn't forced and feels a little insulted by the remark. She only had no choice because this is what she wants, and she was going to do it, and she can stop anytime she wants.
Isn't that what addicts say?
Well, getting a drink of milk.
Out of the carton? Curse you, New 52 reboot!
A noise leads Stephanie into the living room, where her mom is tied and gagged. She's chloroformed by someone claiming she was hard to find, but Selena Kyle likes a challenge.
Which might be true. She, more than anyone besides the Mythbusters, has probably tried hurting cats. Tune in next time to see how this very awkward conversation will go.